So in the first 6 years of selling books, we sold about 750,000 books total. And in 2020 alone, we sold 1.3 million books, which was almost double the entire past 6 years. And it really boils down to the fact that there was a tripling nationwide in America of homeschooling. So there's a ton of parents saying, we need curriculum. We need to know what to teach our kids. And then beyond just the homeschooling niche itself, so many parents, even if their kids are in school, we're seeing through like Zoom school, oh my gosh, my kids are learning that? Like, I don't want my kids learning that. Or the world was going kind of crazy and there's mandates and lockdowns and authoritarianism. And parents were seeing current events and wanting to figure out, like, how do I talk to my kids about this? How do I help them make sense of what's happening in the world? So all of that combined into this sense of urgency among families to say, like, what do we do? Where do we turn? And so on social media or from their friends, they'd say, like, go check out the Tuttle Twins books. And it really led to this uptick. And we're seeing it even still through 2021. Of course, things haven't really totally settled down in the state of affairs in the world. So the demand is definitely there, which is great timing, I think, for the cartoon to come out.
So, both the book and the cartoon, from what I've seen, are being marketed as kind of like your kids are being taught socialism and socialist principles. This is something that runs counter this. Let's talk a little bit about what's actually being taught.
So in school today, you have two problems. I call them the sins of omission and the sins of commission. The sins of commission are when the curriculum or the teachers are using propaganda or bias and they're saying the founding fathers were all white supremacists, or capitalism is a moral evil, or socialism is great, collectivism is awesome, right? These are sins of commission where the system is pushing ideas onto kids. There's also sins of omission where the schools simply are omitting important information, entrepreneurship, the golden rule, free markets, property rights, the Constitution. They're just not teaching this stuff. And so with the sins of commission and the sins of omission combined, that leaves a lot of parents kind of floating out there in the ocean feeling like, where do I turn? Where's my anchor? Where's my foundation? And that's what we see ourselves as offering, as a foundation of freedom to say, here are solid principles, a brand you can trust. Whether you're homeschooling your kids or you need to leave your kids in school for whatever reason, make sure that they're being exposed to these ideas so they can develop critical thinking, they can evaluate all those other ideas that they hear in the world, and really understand the ideas of a free society. I said intent matters. What I mean by that is indoctrination or propaganda in the negative sense is, this is the right way, this is only the right way, you must believe this is what everyone has to believe. That's not what we're about. We're about fostering dialogue. We're about critical thinking. We're about empowering parents to share with their kids the ideas they already believe in. Like me, when I got started with this thing, I wanted to share with my kids what the heck Dad did at his think tank, and I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the language. I needed help. We got books for helping you talk to your kids about potty training or sex ed and all these things, right? Because these sometimes awkward or controversial ideas need to be simplified so that kids can understand and grow into maturity and understand bigger ideas. Why in the world should we not have that for the ideas that have made the world, a free society, for the nations that have adopted these types of principles?
So, I'm kind of fascinated with this logical fallacies book that my friend's, kid actually was challenging her teachers with, right? I find myself wanting to read it myself, frankly. But as you were suggesting that parents are actually getting into this stuff as much as the kids in some cases. So tell me about this.
You're not wrong. We get messages literally every day from parents who say, my gosh, I never learned these things in school. And they only got the books for their kids. They're thinking this is a way for my kids to learn the ideas, not realizing that they themselves are going to learn a lot along the way. We have a nonfiction series for teenagers, a guidebook series, and that particular book is called The Tuttle Twins Guide to Logical Fallacies. And we did this book where every chapter is a different logical fallacy. There's illustrations that kind of show in comic form how that logical fallacy works. What is a logical fallacy? Maybe we start there. It's a wrong way of thinking. It's a poorly crafted argument that does not allow the truth to be discovered because you're kind of being deceitful or you're not allowing the truth to come out in conversation. And those are logical fallacies. They're very common. And we all are kind of susceptible to them if we don't understand them. Our goal with the book is to say, let's understand first what these are, how to recognize them in others and be able to kind of defend against them, but also for yourself to know how to have conversations or debate even, dialogue without using those logical fallacies, because we do want to pursue truth. We do want to understand these ideas. And so that book for me was very fun to do, because this is endemic in society. Everyone's using these types of things. You see it in the media all the time. Politicians use them all the time. Let me give you an example. There's so many logical fallacies. My favorite one is the slippery slope argument, right? Where it's like, oh, well, we can't pass a law like that because then X, Y, and Z would happen. In our state, we legalized medical cannabis for people who have, cancer or have chronic pain, people who are in need. And there was a big debate about, should we make this available to people? Well, a lot of people argued against that law on the basis that, but if we legalize medical cannabis, then we'll have recreational marijuana, and then we'll have crack cocaine, and then we'll have all these other things. And that's a logical fallacy. Just because you do one thing does not necessarily mean that all the rest will follow. It's a poor way of debating. And so in our book, we have a little cartoon where the slope is like this, and someone is laying down feeling like, oh, I'm sliding down a slope. But someone else is standing there, and there's a sign planted in the ground at an angle, which clearly shows that their perspective is skewed, and they're being silly about it when in fact, right, it's not actually a slippery slope. So we use some fun, silly examples, but we're trying to help demonstrate the ideas. So the straw man is a fun one, because when I'm often engaged in debate, people will attack an idea I don't actually hold, and I say, you're attacking a straw man. You're building up this thing that looks like my argument, and you're torching it and, burning it to the ground, feeling good about yourself, but you're not actually addressing my idea. And that's not a good way to have conversation. It's not a good way to have debate.